Welcome to the Sherry Welsh Coaching Podcast. This is Phil Johnson, and joining me today, of course, is leadership coach and author Sherry Welsh of sherrywelsh.com. Sherry coaches individuals privately, and she also works with groups within companies. And you can get a copy of her book, which is titled Slowing Down: Unexpected Ways to Thrive as a Female Leader, from any major book retailer. Sherry, thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Phil. Great to be here.
Today, Sherry, we want to talk about, as you put it, a new area of awareness that's been coming up with some of your clients, and that is the matter of competing commitments. And I won't go any further with trying to define that. I'm going to throw it to you. Maybe you can tell us a bit about what that means and introduce the topic for us.
Sure. Yeah, I was first exposed to it about 2 years ago, and it was a topic that was developed around 20 years ago by Robert Keegan and Lisa Leahy. And they wrote a book about it, a leadership book, and Harvard Business Review wrote a nice article on it. And there was a video that Robert Keegan was delivering to a group in Vancouver. And as he talked through what gets in the way of people not achieving the goals that they set for themselves or achieving what they say they want to achieve in life, whether it's in their career or their personal relationships or wherever it's showing up for them. And what they discovered through a process they developed is there's underlying big assumptions that are hiding competing commitments. So when you're committed to a goal and you're not achieving it or accomplishing it or hitting that goal for whatever reason, there's always some type of competing commitment that is taking your focus and energy away from that goal, that is getting in the way of you getting what you say you want to get. That's kind of a quick summary of what competing commitments means, at least to me, from what I understand of it.
Mm-hmm. So what's the process like for discovering these competing commitments?
Well, so it's a good question. There's a formal process that they've developed that's honestly a bit complex when I look at it. So the simple way that I've learned to use this is to really say, okay, what is it I say I want? And for me, it's easy for me to see in other people what they say they want that they're not getting because I'm removed from it. But when I do it for myself, I say, all right, what is it I say I want? So I'll give an example. For me, it would be my business growing and expanding to a certain level. And I've said I've wanted that for a couple years now. And my business continues to kind of maintain the pace it is, which is fine, but it's not where I want it to be, okay? So I keep saying I have that goal of getting my business to a certain level, yet it hasn't been happening. And when I thought about competing commitments, it came up to me, and my coach Steve has been working with me in his way, by asking, all right, well, what kind of time and attention are you giving it? What's, what focus does it have? And I would tell him, what I'm doing. But what I wasn't putting out there and putting on the table was that truly my real focus has been to my son Jonathan and getting him to a point where he's ready to go and enter adulthood and be good. He's well equipped, he's well adjusted, he has everything he needs to step into that next phase of life. And he just turned 18 in May. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was a big accomplishment, getting to that point where I really feel like my job as mom, being the custodian and guardian and do-all of, his life, which is never true, but I kind of believed that for a while, is over. And when you go to orientation for college, they tell you, Mom, Dad, you're out. They're young adults now, and it's up to them to be their own advocate, to take responsibility for showing up to class. It was really fascinating as a kind of a turning point, and that happened in June for me this year. So this has kind of been coming, this awareness of the competing commitment I had from having my business grow to the level I wanted it to was the time and attention I was giving to being available for Jonathan as his mom, and being there to support him, to help him get projects done, to graduate high school, to finish whatever he needed to get done. So I was distracted. My goal of getting my business growing I was distracted. just like a kid gets distracted in the classroom. Their mind wanders. Well, my mind was wandering and my attention was wandering to Jonathan. And I don't regret that by any means. It's simply what's true that was really, truly more important than growing my business to a higher level at this time. And I wasn't owning that. I wasn't putting that on the table. And it wasn't, it wasn't like I was intentionally hiding it. It was just, that's what I finally discovered. Wow. All right. Now I can work with that. Now I can really say, what do I want to do from here? What do I want to do different with my day? That now that Jonathan's going to college in 3 weeks, he's ready to go. I feel really satisfied that I did the best job I could do to help him step into this next phase that is all his. And he's excited. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Yeah, which is where you want your kid to be, not anxious and worried and scared. He's ready. He's ready to go. And I'm really excited that I was able to see this, that I don't beat myself up, that my business isn't where I want it up to this point, because I now realize that it's okay. It was a choice I've made all along.
Well, that's a relief of a discovery to realize the competing commitment that's holding me back from having my business be where I want it is actually something that is more important to me. And so I'm gonna just say it's okay that my business is where it is right now, and until I'm at that point where my son's ready for the next phase, and now I can just go full steam ahead with the business. Exactly.
So it's really breaking it down to 3 steps. One is, what is the stated goal? Well, the goal I was stating was my business growing and expanding to a particular level. And then what is really happening? Step 2. Well, what's really happening is it's not growing to that particular level. It's maintaining where it's been, which is, okay, but not what the goal was.
Right.
So then step 3 is, all right, what's in the way? What's competing with that happening? I say I want this, and yet it's not happening. And it's really that simple to just say, be honest with yourself. And in my case, be honest with myself, say, okay, this is what it is. And I'm so excited to share that with people, that I get to own it, that I get to say, oh my God, I am so glad that I gave my son the time and attention I wanted to give him. I have no regrets. I have no doubt that I did the best I could. I'm excited for him as he steps into this next phase, because he's good. He's ready to go. I'm ready for him to go. I will definitely have an adjustment as he won't be here, so it's going to be an interesting transition. And I'm ready to really give full time and attention to my business and my clients, and expanding it and growing it in a way that continues to add value for them and develop mastery in the coaching profession that I'm a part of, by continuing to practice and develop in my own skills, in addition to doing what I can to serve more people. So yeah, it's been a really amazing thing to discover.
Yeah. Now, it seems like this little process, well, put it this way, it sounds pretty simple, when you relate what you've gone through. I think maybe because you've already gone through that process, so you can say, well, okay, this is what I wanted, this is what was really happening, and this is what I discovered was the competing commitment. I would imagine that there's a bit more work involved in a lot of cases, maybe when you're working with some of your clients, in trying to figure out what the competing commitments are. But this sounds to me a lot like that process of slowing down and getting off the treadmill and taking a closer look at things that we've talked about before on this podcast.
Yeah. And the transparency aspect that we've talked about on the trust model, because what was happening was I wasn't putting all this on the table in my coaching sessions with my coach. So yeah, this has been I've been working with my coach for 4 years. And so we've been on this this journey of getting the business, to the level I want it for a good 4-year period.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know in that 4 years, many things have occurred that have kind of, if I think about something that's jammed in a hole, and I want to get it unjammed. Well, you can't just always pull it right out. You got to maybe, adjust things and maybe stick a knife in there to loosen it and maybe wiggle it a bit. That's what's been happening.
Mm-hmm.
And as things started to loosen up, now, it's unjammed and things are flowing like crazy for me. And it's so exciting and so fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it all started to become clear. And for my coach too, he said, okay, you got to bring these things into the sessions for us to work on. And I honestly didn't think I wasn't bringing in things. So This hidden competing commitment, that's the challenge, right? It's hidden. So it's hidden from your own conscious view. And that's where the help of my coach was able to continue to bring in time and time again by me working with him for this period of time and him being patient to continue to help me make progress. Was now that it's all clear, now we can really make things happen. And we have.
Yeah.
I mean, since I really started to take ownership of this, my business is becoming more robust and more diverse. I'm getting clients in different areas. It's really getting fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm much more relaxed about it. I'm enjoying it more. And I'm now really seeing that the ease of how it can be in what I wrote in Slowing Down is really that it can be more eased and more enjoyable. Life can, the career can, relationships can. So that's been the part as I work with clients and I'm starting to share this with them. And we start to really uncover what is getting in the way of you really getting what you say you want. Because I truly believe you have what you want. You already do. Because you worked to get it. Because you really wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have it. And if you don't have it, something is in the way. And if you're in action and you're making progress and you're moving towards getting what you want, then great, keep going.
Right.
But if you're not sure and you feel stuck and you're confused and you're starting to have some self-doubt kick in, like, well, maybe I'm not really equipped to get it, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I shouldn't have it. All these, this negative self-doubt talk, this victim energy talk. That's not useful.
Right.
Because that's just a signal that, okay, you got a competing commitment going on. And let's look at that.
Right.
And celebrate that. And own it. And get it on the table. And then decide what you want to do with it, if anything.
Yeah.
It could be that you're thrilled to be giving your time and attention to that other thing, which is what was my case.
Right.
I'm thrilled that I gave my son that time and attention.
Let's look at that a little more closely. So I really like the illustration with your son there, in that when you drilled down, when you were able with the help of your coach to gradually peel away the layers that were keeping you from seeing what the competing commitment was, and you discovered it. It's I don't know, to me it's just kind of a heartwarming thing to discover a competing commitment that you realized was actually more important, and that was your priority at that time. So then you could let that be a relief to you that, oh, well, actually, I'm going to say it's okay that my business isn't growing the way I want it to grow right now, because I want to put this focus on my son until he's ready to go. So that's great. I really like that illustration, but I think that in other cases, when you get down and you find the competing commitment, it really is something in the way. And I think you were starting to touch on the fact that there may be assumptions underlying those competing commitments that are kind of acts of self-sabotage. And so this is a big area of discussion on this topic, I think, and maybe you can develop it a bit more for us.
Yeah, definitely. So the one thing with discovering what that hidden competing commitment is, it's like the truth will set you free, because it really was like this freedom that occurred. And you said the word relief. For me, it was this freedom, like, oh my God, this is awesome. Because now I'm freed up to give my time and attention where I want it, knowing that I was always doing that. I wasn't owning it. I wasn't admitting that to myself. And now I can freely admit it. And now I'm freed up to choose where I put my focus, which is just awesome feeling. And then the underlying assumption, so when I have some clients that I've shared this with, and we've talked about the competing commitments, there is that really strong hold of, yeah, but. So then you want to really get into that big assumption, which is part of Robert Keegan and Lisa Leahy's model. And that big assumption is really something underneath that, for me, pointed to an imposter syndrome. We'll talk more about that maybe in the next podcast we do to explore that further, because there's a whole story that goes with that.
Sure.
And I do find that with many clients that they're mentioning the word imposter, and that's telling me that there's a big assumption going on that's holding them back from truly showing up and being what they want to be in the world, in the workplace, in their family, wherever it is that they're having some challenge with. So for some of the clients that have come in and they're in career paths that, they love the work they're doing, they love the customers they're serving, depending on what kind of work they're involved in. And I have clients from all sorts of backgrounds, law firms and manufacturing firms and service industries, so all different types of work. And what they're finding is they love the work, they love the clients, they love the company that they're a part of, but they're not happy. And they want to be happier. They want to have more balance in their life. They want to be able to inspire their team more. They want to get better results out of their team. Whatever it is that's going on is elusive. So to me, that's telling me, okay, there's just not clarity around what it is you really want. Because you say you want this as your goal, to have more satisfaction at work, to have a higher performing team, whatever it might be. And yet it's not happening. So that's the first two steps, right? What's the stated goal? What's my commitment?
Yeah.
And what's really happening? That my team isn't engaged. They're not high performing. They're not enjoying the work they're doing. They're overwhelmed. They're stressed. Whatever is really happening. And then, okay, well, what's in the way of you really getting that high performing team? What's really going on there? And so then what you start to find out as we explore that is, well, if they get really high performing, I don't know if I'll be able to handle that. And I don't know if, what I do with them, I don't know if they're going to outperform me. So you have some people on your team that are strong performers, and then you kind of are like, okay. So now the imposter thing kicks in, where it's an underlying assumption that, well, this team is going to be better than me. Or people are really going to see that they know it better than I do. And that came up for me when I was a head of global sales, in the career I had in manufacturing and the automotive world. I had never sold anything, really. I had never been a salesperson. I had moved from manufacturing and cost estimating in the plant over to Germany and then onto the headquarters in North America. And so my career kept progressing into leadership positions.
Yeah.
So over time, I'm head of sales, and I don't even know. I've never sold anything. So there's like this underlying belief that, okay, my team is going to look a lot better than I am, which I was happy about because, to me as a leader, if I have a strong team, that's awesome. So it was it's an interesting cycle that gets created, and it comes back to really slowing down and saying, well, what's true about my skills and my time and attention and my focus? What's true about what I'm able to contribute here? Yeah. And what do I love about the work I'm doing? And what do I love about the customers I'm able to serve? And when you simply ask those questions and slow it down for yourself, instead of staying on the treadmill of going through the motions to keep up the charade, then you start to see, well, wait a minute, I am making a difference in what I'm doing. and I'm right where I want to be.
Yeah.
And I really do have what I want. I do have satisfaction. I do have enjoyment in the work I'm doing. So it's been really profound to see the awareness that comes up for myself. And when I'm able to help the clients I'm working with discover this as well, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you, Sherry, for this introduction to this topic of the competing commitments.
Yeah, it's been great.
And thank you also for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Maybe you got inspired to find a coach to help you peel away these layers, slow down and see what competing commitments there might be that are preventing you from getting what you want and creating the life you want to have. I do hope you will all join us for our next episode when we'll be getting into what Sherry brought up and just began to introduce that she called the imposter syndrome. So be sure to join us for that. Be sure also to subscribe to the Sherry Welsh Coaching Podcast. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and a number of other podcast directories. For Sherry Welsh today, this is Phil Johnson. Thank you so much for listening.